So let's talk about consequences. You go speeding down the road and you get stopped. You get pulled over, you get a ticket, you get a fine. And if you get too many of them, you lose your license. And so it's important that you control yourself when you're driving, because it's nice to drive fast in certain situations, but you've got to be careful you don't lose your license. And there's consequences, and those consequences make you think, and those consequences, you don't do what you want to do in life because of consequences. And in life we have consequences for everything. Now the same situation is the video that I'm going to show you. Is I had a bitch in the field with all the other dogs running around like normal, and all of a sudden she starts to chase some songbirds in the field and really enjoy it. And then all of a sudden she was not listening, she wasn't coming back when she was told, and a few of the other dogs followed us to begin with. I called them back, they came back, and she didn't. She just carried on. She was flat out, she was loving it. And unfortunately, if she gets into the habit of that, then she causes herself all sorts of problems. Now, I want her to have drive, I want her to have keenness, and I want her to have enthusiasm. But what I don't want her to do is try and take over and not listen to me. She's not getting discipline for chasing the birds, she's getting discipline for not coming back. So I have to show some discipline to her. There has to be a consequence, the same as you driving down the road and getting stopped by a police officer, right, or drink driving. If you go drink driving, you lose your license. As simple as that. You could think about, well, what about the safety? What if I kill someone? You don't think about that at the time when you're drinking, because your brain isn't right. And at the end of the day, the dog's brain wasn't right when she was chasing them birds, and she was saying, not listening to you, I'm blanking you completely. She was on one, and she was saying, I'm not listening. Now, the first time she'd ever done that, this is it. So she has to have consequences for it. And the negative consequence will make her think again. If she thinks she's going to do that again, next time I call her, she'll turn and come straight back. That's not because she doesn't know what the recall is, or she doesn't know what the stop is. She just went on one, she went deaf on one. And so I'm showing you people a video of what I had to do to use correction. I had to put the other dogs away as fast as possible, go back out in the field. Now if I didn't go after that bitch and get her back, and she learnt she could get away with that, then it puts her in all sorts of danger. She could get killed on the road. She could have ran straight onto the road chasing a rabbit. She could have, chased a songbird, put up a rabbit, gone across the road. Pigeons flew out through the gate because she was racing around the field. She could have gone through the gate. She could have caused an accident, and people could have been hurt. The dog could have been killed, and it would have been a terrible situation. So the thing is, they have to have consequences, and we have to say to the dog, there is certain boundaries that you must obey, and you must listen to me. And that is where we have the control when we need it. And without the control, we haven't got a trained dog. Now, if they were just pets and they weren't going to be put under great temptation, perhaps we wouldn't have to be training in the same way as I train, and we could do it with more biddable forms of training. But these dogs are going to be put under great temptation, vast temptation, out in the field with guns, and for safety, we have to have control. Part and parcel of the criteria of taking a dog out in the field is it has to be under control. Now, as soon as you slip the lead off a dog, any dog can go wrong. It doesn't matter how well trained it is, any dog can go wrong. But if you haven't got your foundation in there and you're training right, then I guarantee it will go wrong. And I see it so many times. So on the odd occasion, a dog has got to learn that discipline is a negative, but you will get it if you really misbehave, right, and really test me and push me to the limit that you deserve it. But on the occasion that I do it, it's minor, not very often, and when it is, it's short and sharp. And so they learn through association that if I stay with Dad and do as I'm told, everything is fun based and everything's great. If I upset him, then I don't like that place I'm in. And that's the way the dog thinks. The dog thinks black and white. Now, some people would argue my method of training is completely wrong. Some people would say that's the way they've trained for thousands of years. Why should he change completely? Because he's already changed his training in a number of ways to be more PC, more kind to the dogs. And I agree that we should be looking for any method that is better and kinder and more humane. But unfortunately, on the odd occasion, you have to show some discipline. And that's part and parcel of the structure of life. Unfortunately, in life, we have to all adhere to certain boundaries, rules and boundaries. So please don't take this video and edit it, because I know some idiots will try. They'll just edit the bits where the dog's not looking happy. And at the end of the day, they'll say, look, what he's doing, he's being cruel to a dog. I'm not being cruel to the dog, but I'm being honest to the people who I train with and train for. At the end of the day, your dog has a wonderful life here, but your dog does have discipline if your dog really pushes the boundaries, and that's the whole point. They learn. The same as the children, they have discipline. If I ask a child, one of my grandchildren, to do something and they don't do it, there has to be a consequence, else they don't do anything you ask them to do. Now, it doesn't mean that you've got to chastise with brute force all the time, right? And brute force is blown all out of proportion when you grab hold of a dog by the scruff and you put it back down on the spot and you smack the backside. That's not brute force, right? When you take your child by the hand and firmly bring it inside when you've asked it to not do something and it's carrying on doing it, that is not brute force. It's not cruelty, right? But it's who defines this. Now, I don't use electric collars, I don't use prong collars, but at the end of the day, I know people who do. That's down to them and their morals and their thought pattern and their education, whether they want to or whether they don't. I've come to the conclusion that everybody is entitled to their opinion, but the way that people push things in today's society as for their own agenda and self-promotion is misleading. It's totally fabricated to suit what they want you to see, because they want your money, they want your business, they want your attention. And at the end of the day, these people are not producing dogs trained to a very high standard. These people are conning you, but using the power of other people's training to suit their own gain. And it's an ideology. It's an ideology to the point that, you know, it's your opinion against my opinion, their opinion against my opinion. And at the end of the day, I can only give you the way I do it, and I question it, I evaluate it, and I'm looking for more, better ideas all the time. And trust me, I've tried training dogs without any discipline at all. It does not work. It does not work. You will come unstuck, right? You're not being honest to people. If you can't say no to a dog or use correction at the right time, then you might as well not have a dog. It's as simple as that. It doesn't mean that your little house pet can't be loved, showed direction, and get what you want out of it without discipline, if that's what you don't want to do. That's your choice, right? But these are working dogs. These are dogs that are going to be out working in the field under great temptation, and we cannot have them in a situation that's unsafe. So please watch the video, and I hope it helps. Thank you. If you want real results, how to train a gun dog, come over to Patreon and Chris Upton, where videos are there for you to study, learn, and get your dog to a very high standard. Come over to Chris Upton at Patreon.